This is a subtest for Lesson 3, and we'll quickly go through it. This lesson or this course will need to be converted to other platforms. So we need to record everything that's going on in this lesson. And you can see we are reinforcing the problems, the concepts that we learned in Lesson 3. In a very succinct way. We're getting these all right. Students can make errors and still pass. They can make 3 or 4 errors and still have proven that they understand the concepts. We can see we're now in Lesson 4. At this point, the students have begun to read with comprehension, so at this point in the course, they should be able to read what the concepts are. We'll miss this one. It seems like a common mistake. Explaining that the sum is 5. What is 5 times 0? I'll miss it again. Same feedback. But this could be altered. Here's a very detailed explanation of what 5 times 0 is. 5 zeros. This is our third error, so the stop sign appears. And the helper can see the errors that were made and provide one-on-one help. Really trying to get them to understand what's involved. 3 zeros. Type 0. 0 times 3 equals 0. We'll miss this one again. Still haven't quite gotten it. 8 zeros. Lots of reinforcement in different ways. The product is 0, the factors, and one of the factors is 0. We're really trying to reinforce. Easy, isn't it? Now we're doing when 1 is a factor. We'll get this one wrong. 1 by 1 array. It has 1 row and 1. Still get it wrong. So again, really anticipating the kinds of errors a student might make. And the helper is called. And then we're seeing different forms of the equation, the same equation, but phrased differently. We're trying to give very specific kinds of feedback. And here we're going to go into a subroutine because the student had not gotten it. And we're going to now revert to the visual representation. Different ways of phrasing it. 1 times 10 is the same as 1/10. Again, we want to stress different phrasings with the same outcome. When one is a factor, the product equals the other factor. The research we've conducted on this course find that students, while this is much more complex, understand from the previous lessons. It's a wonderful way of emphasizing the numbers and their relationships. Now we're getting more reinforcement of these kinds of relationships. Here we're getting into this wonderful way of arriving at the answer. And here we're relating it to the previous problem. 3 times 6 is 18. 4 times 6 is 6 more than 3 times 6. We're getting into quite complex, but at this point understandable for the child. We have found that students who really had difficulty in the first lessons were able to understand this, which is so much more complicated. We've built a nice foundation. we're building more and more concepts. Reinforcing what we've learned. Really understand what the student is being exposed to in this lesson. And do note that we have our lesson information down here. We're on lesson 4. This is question 20. Showing many kinds of relationships. 2 times 9 equals 3 times 6. Now we're back to reinforcing the 1 and reinforcing what we just learned. 3 times 6, 2 times 9, and 1 times 18. Wonderful relationships. Again, to emphasize that because this lesson will need to be converted so that it will run on different platforms, we're presenting the entire lesson. You can see that those wonderful concepts are being reinforced. Way more complex. Reinforcing all of the concepts that were in this lesson, which you saw were much more complex. Again, the student, if they miss 2 or 3, they would still be able to progress. If not, then it would send them back through the lesson. We're getting to number facts, but we're also showing relationships. Let's miss this and see what happens. And this will emphasize this progression. Products when a factor is 2. As I mentioned, this course was tested in an environment where children really needed a lot of assistance. And these last 2 lessons are very difficult conceptually, but all students were able to accomplish this. The foundations have been built, and they will Oops, we'll miss this one. The products, what is the next product? Miss it again. Again, emphasizing the progression. Let's miss this again. This time we're going to get help on the third error. The helper can see the responses and give one-on-one help. Factors of 3. Here we go to the factors of 4. Now we're doing factors of 5, so hopefully this will become much, even though it's quite difficult, much more readily understood. Counting by 5s is fun. Here we do 6. You know the product, and one factor you can find the other factor. Lots of emphasizing different forms of writing 18. This, again, is quite complex, but the children were able to, all of the children in our study were able to do this. All of them learned to multiply. Finally, we'll finish this. Because again, I'll repeat, this course will need to be converted so that it will run on different platforms. Again, we're getting into algebra, and it's so many things are going on, and yet the children all learned. So that completes that course. When we did a subtest, a test at the end on paper and pencil, the average out of 20 questions was 17.3, which is extremely remarkable and very gratifying for us and especially for the students, because they were succeeding. That completes this. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that there is interest to do the necessary conversion so that all children who need this intense exposure to multiplication will be able to have it. Thank you.